I was reading recently in an article on public speaking, actually, and it was recommending the value of impact at the beginning of a speech. And so I thought that I would start with a shocking revelation. And I hope you're prepared for this. But I am not perfect. I know, sorry. Counselling will be available later for anybody adversely affected by this message, as the BBC always says. Of course, the shock element of that is not you learning that I am not perfect. The shock element is that I said it out loud, kind of in a public forum. And the news gets worse because it turns out that you're not perfect either. So this goes on. And also, if we keep going, everybody outside of this building, and whether they're in church or not, they're not perfect either. We read this, right from the beginning we read that, and we're familiar with verses that tell us that all have fallen short of the glory of God. We share a common flaw. It may show itself in different ways, but all the same, we have the same flaw. And it's embedded, it's us. And there are other aspects of our lives that we also share with one another and with everybody outside. The reading that Jean had was, the interesting aspect of that was that they dug the hole the Christian group dug the hole, and it was used by the Christians and those who hated them. There are lots of things that we have in common. How many people here have a soul? You don't need to put your hands up, because my expectation is that you'll all put your hands up. And oddly enough, if we went outside and knocked on door to door and asked the same question, we'd get pretty much 100% yes if they didn't just chuck us out. But assuming those who answered the question would agree that we have a soul, something else that we share. And it applies to everyone. People of faith, people of every creed, and people of no faith. They have a soul. And the soul is us. It's the soul that actually makes us us. We are, as individuals, our soul is who we are. We are body and soul. The term soul refers to the entire person, including their physical, spiritual, emotional, our desires, our consciousness. Our soul is us. And the Bible uses the word soul over 700 times, both in Hebrew and in Greek. And yet in 60 years as a Christian, I don't remember anybody ever talking about, in this setting, the soul. I think somehow it's one of those words that's become devalued. It's been hived off by singers. So you can have soul music, you can even have soul food, and I'm sure you can think of lots of other examples. It's been nicked. And yet, the Bible repeats this over and again, and there's a fascinating thing about that, in the Bible, it's represented by two different words. So Hebrew, nephesh, and in Greek, psyche. We don't know nephesh, but we know psyche, don't we? It's kind of in our language as well. So just those two words pervade our Bible in various forms. And yet when it's translated into English, we use over 40 words to describe it. I'll give you some examples. I won't read through all 700. Let's see what we've got here. Praise the Lord, O my soul. All my inmost being, praise his holy name. It's interesting because the word nephesh is used twice there. So it's praise the Lord, O my soul. And then it's used again in the Hebrew, all my inmost being. Same words, but we've translated it differently because it has a slight nuance, if you like. Gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. Nice, isn't it? Proverbs, that is. But here's an interesting one. Wait for the Lord, my whole being waits, and in his word I put my hope. Didn't mention the word soul. But the word nephesh was in there. And we've got it translated, my whole being. So it's us, it's everything about us. It's not splitting us up into bits, saying, oh, you've got a spiritual bit and a bodily bit it's us, it's the whole thing. The law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. Again, I don't think that we think of the law as being very refreshing, whichever one it is, whether it's the speed that you're going down the road or whether it's biblical law. For you created my inmost being. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. No soul. In my inmost being we have. This is us, our inmost being. And I wanted to read this one because I thought it quite funny, and if you can tell me what it means, it's actually Paul. We had Paul writing earlier, and what you recognise, of course, is that it's a different style. It's a conversational style. Word has it that he used to pace up and down wherever he was, pronouncing what he wanted to say, and Mark was famously trying to scribble behind what it was that he wanted to write to them. And he says this in... Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. Strange kind of, but it's personal. You see, they know one another, these people. So he is able to say that. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. As I said, there's 700 of them. So I think that gives a kind of flavour. So what do we do about it? Do you take care of your soul? I suspect you take some care of your body, which is just the house, the building in which your soul lives, do you take care? Do you take sort of active care? What do you do? And you see, the fact that you're here tells me one of the things that you do. And this is where, inside the building here and other buildings around, people are separated from those who are in the town outside. Not because they're doing anything particularly wonderful or religious, or they're taking care of their soul. There are things that God has given us for the very purpose of feeding our soul. I've kind of illustrated one because I read your poem, and it speaks to me. It feeds the soul, not just because it's about the soul, but because it's a wonderful way of language. I don't know if those of you, there's a famous saying by Lord Halifax about Churchill. Britain was about to concede and to try to make an arrangement with Hitler. And Churchill, of course, said, no, we can't do that. What he said was, in history, those people who fight and lose come back. And those countries that fight and lose come back. They re-establish themselves. Those people that give in disappear. That's the end of it. But Lord Halifax, when Churchill gave this speech in the House of Commons, which ended up with England saying, no, we are going to fight for right. And somebody said to him, what just happened? Because the whole House of Commons went completely berserk behind what Churchill had said. And Halifax said, you just saw the English language mobilised and sent into war. That's kind of what happens with these verses here, or should happen. You read the verses and you need to do something about it. You could probably name a few things that you do to feed your soul. Music. Music is certainly one of mine. Art, also on the list. Nature. Don't see anybody disagreeing. No. We appreciate it, don't we? And others too. Not just those in Christian buildings. All around us, there are people who see what God has done in nature. Work, a bit more controversial, but actually, work, being given something to do, making a difference, and everybody does. I've often said that if you had a choice between, there's going to be a strike, and it's going to be a strike between preachers and vicars, or dustmen. You make the choice. Which one's it going to be? Well, just say goodbye to the vicars. We'll have the dustmen. Everybody contributes. Everybody is important, has something to do. I've always thought it rather strange that we, as a Christian community, commission people to preach the gospel. And we don't commission people to sweep the roads. Why is that then? If they are Christian, if they are going to provide service in that way, why do we not bless them for the service that they provide? Because we're a bit mean. We only want to bless people who say what we say and believe what we believe. That's not fair. That's what the litany of reconciliation was about. It's about reconciling people's rights to be different. It doesn't diminish in any way us being able to tell people what we know. So if I am confronted with somebody of another faith, what do? Do I argue with him, my faith is better than yours? Well, I hope not. I hope what I do is I listen to him or her in terms of what they get. What have they learned of God in their faith? And that's what I want to share with them. What I have learned too. How God in my life has made differences, changes, difficulties, blessings. You wouldn't know this, most people wouldn't know this, but our front door there was installed by Sikhs, completely turbaned, and they were fantastic. I have to say, if I'd said some of the things that they said about the Caribbean community, I'd have got locked up. But it's just interesting. They were Sikhs, they were men of faith, and one of them said to me, I think I've said this before, "How old are you?" And I told him how old I was, and he said, "And you've got your own teeth." It's a contact, it's an interaction, it's important to be sharing with other people. We haven't got to be preaching or spouting biblical phrases. There's a time for that, of course. And also, how about prayer? Isn't that food for the soul? Isn't that how we nourish our souls? Meeting together to share our faith. It's a nourishment. It's not just the words that are spoken. It's not just things we learn. It's the interaction. It's being with other people like us. Reading, including, of course, the Bible. I would say not exclusively. If you're only going to read one book, then that's fine, read that one. But lots of people have said lots of very interesting things and learned of God in fascinating ways. And we can learn from them by reading. And of course, coming here. Isn't this why we come? There is no kind of, there's no attraction, is there? There's no funfair. We come to feed our soul. The gifts that I talk about that young people will exhibit through their lives. Feed the soul. Feed the soul, and your gifts will come. We need to take care of our souls, our innermost being, our emotional well-being. And that's what makes a distinction between people, those who care for their souls and the souls of others, and those who look to the world for satisfaction, often ignoring the needs of the soul. Jesus said, "What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul?" Now, somewhere here, a final poem. This comes from the 13th century. It was written by a Persian poet. If of thy mortal goods, I'll start again. If of thy mortal goods thou art bereft, and from thy slender store 2 loaves alone to thee are left, sell one, and from the dole buy hyacinths to feed the soul. It was ever so. We're going to sing a final hymn.